Alright, hello everyone, this is Crota giving you Game 2 in a series. Now, first of all, I am traveling on the road, hello, and I am casting this all from my laptop, don't have all the professional equipment that I normally do at home, and I will also be adding to my studio in the next couple of weeks, trying to get, just trying to, give you guys a better product out there. But let's go ahead and jump into Game 2, and then I can give you guys a little bit more details on what exactly is happening. So Game 2 here, and let's go ahead and get this started. It is going to be Chobittsu versus TSL's Polt here on Ohana, and really Polt played a very, very great game. Game 1 was a very strong timing push coming in from Polt to really punish a fast expanding Protoss. Now, we'll see whether or not Chobittsu will be going for another quick expansion here, as Polt is playing as the blue Terran player on the bottom right hand side of the map. Chobittsu is on the top left hand side as the green Protoss player, and Ohana, one of those maps where there's only 2 spawning locations, so you pretty much already know where your opponent is. Now, if you're taking a look at the map, there is one ramp here that is rather small. It takes 2 force fields to block as opposed to the typical 3 on Shakura's Plateau. But there is also this backdoor entrance. We'll see if this backdoor entrance does come into play, as both players getting up their pretty much standard builds. Supply depot now coming in over here by Polt on the front door. And I like how Polt builds the first supply depot on the ramp, but he doesn't necessarily build his barracks there. And it looks like he will be doing that this time around, just in case there is any sort of aggressive play coming in from Chobittsu. Chobittsu this time around going for a much more traditional build, getting that gateway at, I believe, 12. Actually, no, that gateway actually seems a little bit earlier than normal. So Chobittsu getting up a 10 gateway and a 13 gas. This is actually a little bit earlier, and we may see some sort of 4 gate pressure. Chobittsu trying to be much more aggressive, and by sacrificing a little bit of economy early on, he is actually able to get down that gateway and perhaps that cybernet for a little bit faster, as you see that now coming in. Coming back over here, Polt, currently just harvesting gas. He should be upgrading to an orbital command here in just a moment. Take a look back at Chobittsu. Chobittsu has not been spending a lot of his chrono boost on workers, and it looks like he should be chrono boosting out, I believe, that warp gate tech. 4 gate or a 3 gate variation up against a relatively defensive Terran. And the question is going to be how effective this is going to be. We can see a reactor now being placed down, and that is actually going to hurt Polt. Polt is going to be losing about 2 Marines in the early portion of the game, and we'll see if he transitions actually into Hellions or if he does something a little bit different. Now, one thing I will say, warp gate or pylon power no longer works up onto the high ground in Heart of the Swarm. That is perhaps one of the largest changes, as we now see a pylon being placed down here. SCB now is going to be retreating and returning home. You can see Polt knows what's going on. He's getting up a 2nd barracks. He's adding on a tech lab here, and now going to be double training those Marines. Now, the reactor, one of the reasons why I say the reactor is not good early on is that it takes 50 seconds to build that reactor. During that time, you could have trained up 2 Marines. Depending on the timing on that reactor, it may have been better to just train up those Marines the old-fashioned way as opposed to adding on that reactor. But it looks like Polt is going to have enough time here after, I believe, about another 50 seconds or so. After the 3rd and 4th Marine, the 5th and 6th Marine does start to actually benefit, as Polt is going to have a little bit more production because of that reactor now. Taking a look across the map, Stalkers are making their way. Stalkers are sitting at the Zelnaga Tower, so Chobittsu does have the scouting advantage, as the probes are setting up proxy pylons in a number of different locations. We'll see how effective that is going to be, as another one is going up on the high ground here. Marines are ready to go. That is a lot of Marines now. 7 Marines on the ramp, more Marines being added, Stim also being researched, Marauders being added over at the tech lab, as the Marauders and the Marines are now making their way down and maybe able to clean up over here to some of the Stalkers. The Stalkers are trying to pull back here at the Zelnaga Tower. You can see that there are units now being warped in here for Stalkers, and the Marines and the Marauders, if they're not careful, may end up getting split. Alright, so the Marines and the Marauders chasing after Stalkers, And what is going to be happening here is all these Marines and the Marauders will be far away. Sentries will need to be warped in off over here as the Stalkers are now going after some of these Marines, and it looks like it may turn into a base race. Marines and Marauders now walking up that ramp. We need to get up some Sentries. The Zealots and Stalkers are now over here on the high ground. Is Chobittsu going to have enough units as the Stalkers are now trying to push it over here into the main base? Down it goes, our supply block for Polt. Meanwhile, units are going up the ramp over here. There is a little bit of stutter step, no stims as of yet, as the Stalkers are now just making their way straight up inside the base here. Marines and Marauders are coming in, SCVs are being pulled, Stalkers are going to get destroyed here, but what is happening off over here? Polt now trying to walk up, and Polt just simply going to be able to take down a lot of these units. The concussive shell doing its job, slowing down the Zealots, keeping the Sentries, keeping the Zealots unable from really dealing any damage. There is one force field there, but who is going to come out ahead? Polt at 40, Chobittsu sitting at 34, worker count 24 to 20, so Chobittsu is slightly ahead in that factor, but a lot of these Zealots are not being microed correctly. These Marines and the Marauders, even without them, dealing a lot of damage here, and it looks like reinforcements will be coming in. Back down over here, nothing is being warped in to add in any more pressure. The Zealots now coming to the Stalker, taking in a lot more damage than it would normally like at this point. Stalkers, Zealots, Marines, Marauders, more Marines are coming in to just add in here, and what is going to come out on top? Oh, the final shot off is ready, but Polt now with even more Marines and Marauders going up against more Zealots, and this is even without stim. How effective is Polt with his micro, just pulling back with units and then re-engaging? Chobittsu now trying to come in with one Stalker, but the Marines and the Marauders now with them are simply going to own all of these Zealots, being able to kite these units all day, and Chobittsu does end up losing game 2 here as well on Ohana. Very, very good game. Very, very just a strong showing of what a Terran player needs to do. Polt deciding to just go one base in each of these matchups. He saw the 4-base aggression, added on a reactor, and he didn't really have that many production buildings. If you take a look inside his base, let's take a look at the base here. One barracks here, and then adding on another command center as his follow-up. He didn't really have that many production buildings compared to his opponent, who was actually on a full 4-gate, but Polt was aggressive, knowing that he could utilize those SCVs, the round of warp-ins, 4 Stalkers against 2 Marines and a 1 Marauder being warped in, plus all of those SCV shields. Even though you saw that Chobittsu try to engage with all of the Stalkers right here, minimizing the surface area on those Stalkers so that the SCVs couldn't get within melee range, the Marauders and the Marines were still doing enough damage to really clean that up, and then Polt walked his units all the way across the map, and as soon as Stim was finished researching, that was the final nail in the coffin. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Let me know if you guys, and let me know what the production quality is here. I am on the road, things are going to be a little bit more difficult, and if you guys didn't know, I'm actually in Taipei, Taiwan right now, so a little bit of jet lag. Oh wow, just traveling with Arya, a little bit of a weblog side now. Traveling with Arya, a little bit more difficult than I thought it would be. A lot of my friends were telling me, whenever you travel with a baby, travel with the car seat. She'll be able to sleep better in the car seat. No one tells you that a car seat weighs 30 pounds, and if they don't like the car seat, you got this giant car seat that's taking up so much room. We ended up removing the car seat, letting her take up two of our chairs. She just slept, and she traveled pretty well, so pretty happy about that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I am trying to line up some interviews here in Taiwan, and while I'm here, if you guys didn't know, South Korea and Taiwan actually share the same BattleNet server. So anyone who's a GM here in Taiwan is also a GM on the South Korean BattleNet server, pretty much. And I would love to line up some interviews if at all possible. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys on BattleNet.